It's been 2 months since we bought our 1-acre land in the countryside of Costa Rica. For a long time, this piece of land was a cow pasture, and then a yucca plantation, and now a completely blank canvas. Our intention is to turn this land into the most abundant food forest and cozy homestead as we possibly can imagine. We dream of the day we can walk into our abundant, thriving garden and pick any fruit or veggie that we want and nourish our bodies with the trees and plants that we planted. But of course, this will take time, and it's just the beginning.
Now, the question is, did we want to build a cabin over here? We need to build a long-ass driveway, or are we just going to build here, which is our favorite spot on our entire land?
With our hearts filled with excitement and our land as empty as it could get, we had to begin building and planting if we really wanted to live on our land and produce as much food as we possibly can as soon as possible. And so, within 2 months, we have put in our driveway, designed our house, consulted with a permaculture expert on how to move forward with our land, and started planning out our garden beds. However, there was something we were waiting for to truly continue our process. And that which we have been ever so patiently waiting for has finally arrived. The rainy season. The rain has come, which means that everything in nature will soon sprout, blossom, shoot up, and grow as abundantly as ever. When the rain comes, it means that the planting season has arrived. With a long list filled with fruit trees, flowers, perennials, and more, we could finally begin getting these babies into the ground and send them on their way to growing into their highest potential.
I've been feeling the calling to start planting a food forest for a while now. With the growing uncertainty of the global food supply chains and the world in general, planting a food forest just seems like a no-brainer at this point if you want to guarantee a food supply for your family. I don't know how to explain it, there's just a certain peace that comes with having food sovereignty in such a noisy and unpredictable world. Actually, now that I think about it, how is growing your own food not normalized? How do we become so dependent and outsource everything to put the food on our table? And now that I realize this, that's just not the life that I want to live. I'm not going to be relying on supermarkets and large corporations to provide food for me and my family. It's not just that though, I've also realized in the modern world how disconnected we've become from the food that we eat. For example, as crazy as it sounds, just a few months ago, we thought that pineapples maybe grew from trees. Turns out that they grow from the ground, and so do peanuts. We just had no idea how the foods that we ate ended up on our table. And now it's time to change this. It's time to reconnect to the very foods that nourish us. So it's time to get to work and start digging.
Having a blank canvas of land can honestly be so overwhelming. And so therefore, the most important thing that we've come to realize is that it's super important to be really clear on the action steps and why we're doing what we're doing. So we first started by asking ourselves this question: what does our diet look like? We mainly eat plant-based, and so therefore our diet consists mainly of fruits and vegetables. So since fruit trees take much longer to produce food than vegetables, we needed to get our fruit trees into the ground right at the start. Yo sé que mucha gente en el mundo tiene vacaciones ahora, y si usted quiere viajar muy pronto, tengo una perfecta idea por usted. Ahora estoy aprendiendo español con Lingoda por casi 4 o 5 meses. Y si usted quiere viajar, qué buena idea para aprender una nueva idioma antes de viajar. Y la mejor cosa es que todos los profesores son de diferentes países y por esta causa tienes clases que son libre en todo tiempo del día. And it's super exciting because with our link below, Lingota's offering you a 7-day free trial where you can claim 3 group classes or even 1 private class and 30% off your first payment. So what are you waiting for? Vamos a practicar. The fruits we consume the most are by far bananas, mangoes, and coconuts. So by observing how much we consumed of each, we planted accordingly. 40 banana trees, 3 mango trees, and 15 coconut trees. You're probably wondering why we're planting so many coconut trees. Well, apart from the delicious coconut water that's super cooling and refreshing in the tropics, we're basically planting milk with no responsibility over any cows or goats. And I'm not sure if you've ever tried freshly squeezed coconut milk, but there is nothing quite like it.
May you produce the most beautiful coconuts in the world, and we will, with much pleasure, make for the rest of our life from your fruits coconut milk and coconut oil. Sovereignty.
And not only do coconuts produce milk, but you can even make oil from it to use for cooking, baking, and even for the body, such as moisturizer, for sunburns. Honestly, coconut is one of those miracle fruits. We also planted 5 citrus trees, so mandarins, oranges, lemons, and limes, 3 biriba trees, 2 cacao trees, 2 jackfruit, 2 mangosteen, 1 rambutan, and there is so much more to come. Also, just want to point out that this is just phase 1 of planting. We will be planting much more as time goes on, but for now, this is a great start. Let us know what other trees we should plant in the comments below so we can maybe plant that next. By the way, everything we're planting on our land is placed in a very strategic location. We didn't just come here and start planting trees at random as we'd maybe regret things in the future. Instead, we thought of many factors that influence the final planting location. Firstly, how frequently do we want to access this plant? Does it need high maintenance like many veggies, or does it just do its thing without needing much attention? This is what we refer to as the zoning. Know where your house is and plant everything you will use the most near to the house. Anything like collecting a bi-weekly banana rack can go further away. Secondly, what is the mature height of each plant? We bought this land for its spectacular view, so we couldn't just plant a 30-meter tall coconut tree right in front of our house, as we would totally regret that in 5 years. And according to its mature height, we also used each tree for privacy. For example, we planted 5 midget coconut trees along our driveway so we'd get nice fruit on the way back home, but also a nice natural privacy hedge without it getting too tall so it'd end up covering our view. And finally, what is the spacing distance each plant needs between other trees? We researched each species to make sure that we'd give it the adequate spacing it really needed to take off and bring an abundance to our land. So we couldn't just plant things too close together to crowd an area, as each tree likes its space. So yeah, as you can tell, there's a lot of things to think about, and we're still experimenting to see how things will flow. So we'll keep you updated on that.
It feels so good knowing that we just planted over 50 fruit trees into the ground, which will one day produce their first nourishing fruits. But in the meantime, we'll be giving them lots of attention, care, and love. We have so many more trees to plant, however, it feels good to know that we're one step closer to food sovereignty. In the meantime, we'll be supporting our local farmers whilst our food forest is in progress. The very last thing we'll be doing is waiting for our governmental food rations to arrive to our doorstep for our food supply. Nope, this is not some made-up fantasy. This is actually happening right now in Shanghai, China. I honestly never thought I'd live to see what's unfolding in the world right now. It's quite scary, it's quite unsettling, but all we can do is just keep planting trees and live as sovereign and far away from the noise as possible. So, here's to a life of peace and abundance in the countryside.